This is episode 102 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 102 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today, I have another awesome episode for you. I have Alex Powell on the show, and Alex and I had a bit of a marathon discussion here, just going through everything that interests us, and it was actually a lot of fun. We got to talking about a property that I actually placed multiple offers on and missed out on, and he actually got it. We talk about how we assessed that property, what was done to that property, and the numbers on it. We went through some of Alex's other properties and how he's being very creative to add value. He's not afraid to do heavy renovations. He's not afraid to do what's needed. He often uses a joint venture model where he's having partners come in and buy up properties with him, and they're putting in the funds and he's doing the work. Very organized guy, very systematic, and he's got a great mindset and a great reputation in the community. So we dug into things like team building, how to grow your business from where you are to where you want to be, and really the nuts and bolts that go into that, as well as some philosophical thoughts about the current situation going on in the world and how we can go about hiring trades and hiring people and still get a great value out of them. So I'm confident you're going to enjoy this episode. I know I sure did. As always, for anyone new, it's highly recommended that you head right back to the beginning of this podcast, episode 1, and work your way through. If you're new to real estate investing, it's going to really help you hit the ground running. And if you haven't already, please make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you could, kindly leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps this podcast to grow bigger and reach more people. I'd, of course, really appreciate that as well. So without further ado, let's jump into episode 102 with Alex Powell. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I've got Alex Powell on the show today. I've heard that name for years. Finally get to meet him in person.
Yeah, the feeling's mutual. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, man, happy to have you. So we've been around each other and not quite known each other. I accidentally named our meetup group the Greater Hamilton REI Meetup, and then learned you had the Greater Hamilton something. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not good. But anyways, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself? Because I don't know too much. I just know I hear the name and I know you're pretty busy.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. So a little bit about myself. My education's in engineering. And I was working as an engineer for a while, and then I decided to get into real estate investing from a very young age, but took the approach of getting a salary job first and then working my way through it. So I had actually done a deal with an agent out of Keller Williams at the time out in Kitchener to buy a duplex, and he introduced me to Mark Loeffler, who I know is a mutual friend of ours. And I went to go talk to Mark Loeffler, and I was like, you know what, I'd really like to learn from. So he's like, you know what, get your license, and then we'll get you set up. So I ended up getting my license. I worked on Loeffler's team for quite a bit, I think 2 years, and shaped me into a salesman. And then eventually it was time to kind of branch out a little bit. And my true passion has always been real estate investing. But the reason I love it, it combines like the real estate investing side with construction and stuff. So a little bit about us. We have a company called Powell Property Solutions. We do a lot of joint venture partnerships. So we help people who are looking to get into the industry and don't have the resources or the know-how. We partner with them and get kick-ass returns.
Kick-ass returns sound good. I like kick-ass returns. How long have you been in real estate investing?
About 8 years now.
8 years. So, and you got into real estate as a realtor
4 years ago.
But 4 years ago?
Like I wouldn't even consider myself like a real. If I had a badge on me that indicated what I was, I'd have an investor badge, not a realtor badge. I just happen to have a license. My wife Kaylee runs our team, Powell Realty Group, and she's awesome.
So she rocks with that stuff. Are you guys a team under another brokerage, or are you under Keller Williams?
We're Keller Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How many people on your team?
There's 3 of us. 3.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just hands off with that. You allow your wife to take care of that.
Yeah.
And you told me you're expecting a newborn very soon?
We were talking before the show got on that I was worried that I get the phone call during the interview here. So we're on pins and needles, but any second now.
That may happen. So we might have a short interview. We'll get to the meat and potatoes.
We'll just take the cameras to the delivery room. We'll continue.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So what kind of projects are you in right now?
So we've got a number of projects on the go. We've got so I'll kind of start from west and work my way towards where Brantford would be, I guess, right? We have one in Welland right now, which is, I think, one of my favorite purchases that I've done personally. We got it in competition. So there was 4 offers on this property we got it 15 grand under asking with a 1 month conditional period on this place. And it was a convenience store and an old laundromat with 2 residential units up top. And then behind it, on the same plot of land, was a detached, single, dinky little residential property. So we got the thing under contract, and the plan is, and what we've now got approval for, is we've severed the single-family residential property from the building.
Okay.
And we've got approval from the city to convert that mixed-use building into 5 residential units.
Oh, so there's the kicker.
Oh yeah, so we're selling off the single family residential. We've added 3 parking spaces too. We went through the committee of adjustments, all good to go. And so we're planning to be done by the spring, but we bought the thing for $285.
I kind of want to run the numbers on this, so we'll do quick math here. So 285 buy. What do you figure you're going to be in with the severance?
So we're running about $450.
So 450 of money put in, but with renovation, severance, development charges.
Yeah.
Okay, so 450. That's more than I usually hear people say when they buy for 285. But there's a lot going on there.
It's a big, they're big properties too, right?
And
so
what's it all worth, including the one that you can sell that you've severed off?
So the one that we're going to sell, we're like from that 450, that's probably going to go towards that house, and we're going to sell that one by itself. I'm planning to list it for $249,900.
249. So say you got roughly 250. We'll just kind of figure in there. What's the rest of it going to be worth?
Well, originally I had to run my numbers super conservative at 650.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that we're going to be closer to 8.
8? Okay. 850. I mean, realistically, we could add that 250 on top because that really is gravy on top of that. So 850 plus 250. So you're at like a 1.1 overall with everything. Now, is the plan, obviously, I guess, is going to be go back with the bank, refinance that?
Yeah, refinance the mixed use, get a nice long commercial loan on that, ideally, if we can, at a nice interest rate. And the way I ran my numbers, it was like $1,700 a month cash flow.
$1,700 a month. That sounds pretty good. I mean, like just as is. I mean, if we just assumed you were keeping that property and you refinance it all at 80%, I mean, you probably wouldn't get 80. You'd probably get 75. But you'd be like $825 on the new mortgage, which would get you all your money out.
Yeah.
So I already like the sounds of this deal. Those are the kind of deals I like.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're say roughly $825 there. Let's kind of break down what you figure your income will be on this place.
Well, we've got 2 3-bedrooms, so I'm running that at like $1,600 for a 3-bedroom in Welland. But they're going to be nice. We put like quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, that kind of thing.
So 1,600 times 2.
Yeah. And then we've got 2 2-bedrooms, and those are going to be $1,495. And we have 1 bedroom that we put at $1,250.
Okay, so that's about $7,440 gross rent, and we'll just leave like a 2% vacancy there. What do you figure your taxes will be on that?
Well, you're quizzing me here. I'm not 100% sure, but
ballpark.
I'd
$5
say
grand, $4 grand.
About $4,000, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, and then insurance probably a little bit more there, maybe $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maintenance I'll just leave like 7% there, just to be a little bit more conservative. Utilities, are you going to be paying the utilities there?
Not hydro. So we're going to be paying gas and water.
Okay, so we figure like $250 a month then between those two?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and so that's about $3,000 a year. Management, are you going to pay management or are you doing it yourself?
So we have an internal management company, so
we'll zero that out.
Yeah.
It depends on who you're giving it to. If you're giving it to the bank, you got to show management.
We actually do charge ourselves. So it's,
what do you charge yourself?
8%.
You charge 8%?
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave 8%.
Figure it's always best to do that because then you don't miss it if you ever decide to outsource.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I was paying management before on my stuff, and then I actually kind of made the move to self-manage, which it's cheaper, and if you have the systems, it's not really too much more work. But
property manager is a funny thing is that you never feel like you're getting the bang for your buck, and you're always like kind of gritting your teeth.
Until you do it yourself.
and then some shit hits the fan, you're like, oh my god, I need help, and that's where the value comes in.
Well, so I shouldn't say I have no help. Like I have people. They're not property manager. Like I have a handyman. I have people that can open doors for me. So like a team, but not necessarily somebody that goes by that title.
Yeah,
I think that's the differentiator. I don't mean to say I do it by myself because I definitely don't. Lawn cutting, snow removal, what do you figure?
There's not a whole lot of, actually I don't know if there's any lawn there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So snow removal, we might be, let's call it $50 a month, maybe.
Okay.
So for what, 6 months?
Okay. So yeah, maybe only 300. Yeah, that's a good deal on snow removal. Okay. So 500 just miscellaneous. I like to include. You would be getting. What would you be getting in terms of a final? You said final valuation
Yeah, so when I ran my numbers initially, like
Yeah.
I was at like I ran at like the 650 numbers. So now that with the market obviously reacting as it has, it's been exceptional. So
we'll figure like 25-year amortization.
yeah, if we can push that ideally, but depends on the terms of the loan.
Well, it's commercial financing, right? Like
Yeah.
I guess like who would allow you to push that? Like a credit union?
Well, we're hoping if we can even get CMHC.
Okay, so go see. All right. Yeah, so if you can get CMHC, you might even get.
I heard the process right now is I've actually never been through CMHC, so I've never gone through it.
I've never been through it personally. Anyone I talk to, it's like a year process on a
it's
refi.
like pulling teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you got 80% loan to value, 30-year AM, and you're probably going to get like 2.25 or 2, somewhere around there in interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting numbers like that, your cash flow is going to look pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, I got your cash flow coming in here at 2720, not factoring your management.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that is factoring your management.
Yeah.
I thought you said 1700.
Well,
maybe we missed something here.
Yeah. So whenever I do build, especially like this is a larger construction job.
Yeah.
So if I'm going into a job like this, and especially like this project is with joint venture partners, and joint venture partners, I treat their money more like better than I would my own. So I'm always very, very, very conservative. So when I had run my numbers, rents were more conservative than what they are now. Obviously, we've done a lot more work in the Welland area since then too, right? To just kind of understand numbers. So, but yeah, and that's also including, you ran them at CMHC finance numbers, right? So I think when I was running them,
better,
I was just running them at the bare bones. So, worst case scenario, but it's this is a knockout. This is a knockout deal.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how you slice this one, it looks like you're pulling out money, like in the ballpark of like 90 grand in pocket, and the cash flow is going to be pretty sweet. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got your own internal management system, so that works out really well. And if you didn't count that management, your cash flow is like 3,300. So
not a bad thing when you think about like the right purchase can propel you closer to financial freedom so quickly. Now
there are people who could live on that. That alone would be their income. They could just retire and just manage the building.
Yeah. Well, I know for our partners and stuff too, it's like this is a substantial move towards like improving their retirement, all that, right? So that's what they're saving for, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I can definitely see the benefit when you're buying at numbers like that. Now, how common is a deal like that for you?
It's not, and that's the problem. I'm sure you're on the hunt too, right?
Yeah, I'm always looking.
Yeah, so it's
not in these areas. It's not that easy to find that.
I think that the way to become successful, I think, as an investor nowadays, is you have to be creative. You got to find how to do something that no one's really thought about yet, or hasn't really put together yet. And now it seems to me that this project in itself was pretty obvious. I'm still baffled. Like, I'd like to talk to those other people that put offers in and be like, how low did you guys go in?
Yeah.
Because like after we bought the place, we actually got one of the agents who lost out on the deal, and her client was just coming after us wanting to buy the property off us. They were going to wholesale it, or ask us to wholesale it to them at like $350. We're like, no, we can't. No.
Yeah.
Finally, the buyer called us themselves and like, I'm the actual buyer. What do you want for this property? I was like, anyway, we didn't end up doing it.
You missed out.
Yeah.
It's funny. I hear a lot of stories like that. I've heard that a lot in the last month of people saying, I don't know what the other people were thinking when they didn't buy it.
Yeah.
They're kind of like scratching their heads.
But it's like the telltale story of real estate. If you think about it, like Loeffler always says it. It's like you always think you overpay, and then 5 years later, you could be a genius.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
It's hard to get over that.
It feels like you're overpaying now.
Yeah.
Just because of the way things are. It doesn't mean that we actually are overpaying, but it does feel like that sometimes.
For sure.
Especially with how crazy our market's been.
And, I get the skepticism, but there's so many people that are, especially on the real estate side. Kaylee deals with it more often when you're dealing with like a first-time home buyer. And they're saying that, you know what, this market's just a little too crazy. We're going to wait a year.
Yeah.
And the year goes by and like, now you're
doesn't
paying
get any better.
$100,000 more for a property. It's like, oh, but
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily make it better. So
no, for sure.
okay, so your systems and your people, it allows you to reach Welland. Okay, that's not too far from home for you.
No, I'm in Grimsby, so it's about 40 minutes, I would say.
Okay,
so it's
from
not
Grimsby.
ideal, I guess, in terms of like the majority of our properties are in Hamilton. Our office is in Hamilton. That's where we deal with most of our projects. But as we start to grow and expand, you kind of have to spread a little bit more and look for opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm open to looking to areas. Like you said, you got to get creative. I think that's one way. In Hamilton, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack to look for cash flowing properties. Doesn't mean you can't find them, but you got to get more creative. You got to get smarter. Whereas you can go to other areas that cash flow better. Well, Welland obviously cash flows a bit better off the hop.
Yeah.
But not like it used to. Like not as crazy as it used to be.
Yeah, prices are going up everywhere, right?
Yeah,
so
they are.
People like who can't afford Toronto, they're coming to Hamilton. It looks like it's a steal there. People who can't afford Hamilton are going out to Welland, St. Catharines, and it's even St. Catharines now is like creeping up. Same thing.
Yeah, it is. It's all getting pushed up, and I think Fort Erie was probably not too far off. I've heard people live there already saying it's gone up so much.
For me, it's always like I always want to make sure I'm investing in some place that has like industry to attract the population growth. That's what I think, and that's why I love Hamilton as much as I do. Like if I could buy every property in Hamilton, I would.
Just because of the industry there.
Just I believe in the city. I really do.
Okay. Why? What specifically?
Well, so for instance, that development that they're doing down on the pier, I think that there's going to be a tremendous amount of opportunity, a tremendous amount of gentrification that will come with that. And I know that there's like evil associated with that word in some capacity to some people. But
which pier is this? Is this like the north?
I think it's Pier 8. The development, they're putting like in the billions. Into it, and it's like condo developments out there.
All right, yeah.
So it's just super exciting for the city of Hamilton. It really is. The Hamilton Airport is they did like a $250 million expansion out there. I'm libbing numbers off the top of my head.
They do a lot of international. Of course, you still got some steel there. You got healthcare. You've got the school. There's a lot of different stuff going on.
So Hamilton itself. I used to work for Acon, and we did a lot of work at U.S. Steel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the story of Hamilton, I got to hear it directly from a lot of these guys that used to work in the factories there. It's like when Stelco got bought out by U.S. Steel, there was that, obviously the plants were kept open. But when Obama came in, he said, okay, we're actually going to focus on steel suppliers within the States. There was massive layoffs here in Hamilton. Now, Hamilton, similar to like Pittsburgh, was steel town. It was like our steel town. And now you have this town that's relied so heavily on steel and the manufacturing of steel to, just thrive on. Now is like, it's halted. So now Hamilton had a choice to just go into this slump or to redefine itself. And I think that it's a testament to the city on how well it redefined itself.
Yeah.
In terms of the developments that they're putting into it, in terms of how, the government incentives to bring small businesses in. I drive the streets every day, and I get to see how things are physically changing in the environment that I'm living in. And like the prices are reflecting that, right? Hamilton used to be this grungy downtown, and now it's got like these bougie stores in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
Like look at Ottawa Street. We were just talking about that building on Ottawa Street. Like, you go down Ottawa Street and it's like, you got Hamburger there. You've got like Limoncello. It's like this fancy bougie coffee shop and like all these different stores and stuff. I mean, I don't know. You're starting to see this change. And I think that it's not to mention like the hospitals, like, some of the best healthcare facilities in the world are in Hamilton. So.
Yeah. And it's like you said, you're seeing why, and you're seeing the people come there and the prices are going up to reflect that. It's still cheaper if you go to the East End than it is in a lot of places.
For sure.
I mean, some of the neighborhoods are tight and the houses are really small and there's not much you can do because the lots are small.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be a demand for housing like that because it's affordable relatively.
Do you dabble into infill development more than you would like actual like fix and flip?
I'll absolutely do that. I'm more of a BRRRR guy, but yeah, I mean, so I have my own construction company. I do a lot of new construction.
Yeah.
And I'll do additions on properties and any way I can creatively see that I can add value, I'm open to it. So nothing really scares me from a execution standpoint on a project.
Now, have you done a lot of that here in Burlington?
No, I haven't. I've just done a little bit,
because I heard that it's tough to get anything done.
To get people to do stuff here.
Not just the people, more so the city to get like approvals and things like that. Infill development, I think, is making a big impact in Hamilton.
Like whereabouts?
So, do you know Charles Waugh?
Yeah, I know Charles Waugh.
Yeah. So he just did one on Wilson Street, and it was like impeccable transformation. And it's like, once again, one of those things that like the city has now given them permission to do that. Yeah. His build literally changed that entire block, right? In terms of like, wow, these are a new bar of expectation.
How many units was this?
I think that I'm not sure if they duplexed. It was semis, the two semis, but I don't know if they duplexed each semi.
Okay.
I want to assume that they did.
Is this one he did to like keep or to sell?
He sold them.
He sold them.
He flipped them.
Yeah, I wonder. I think he was mentioning this. He was going to send me a listing on it. This was recent that he sold it, right?
Yeah, probably within the year, I believe.
Yeah, okay. I think he was mentioning this because I had him on the podcast a little while ago. Yeah, Charles is a smart guy with infill.
Totally.
He really knows what he's doing there.
But supposedly, like, Burlington won't allow that kind of thing to happen. So,
they have them the secondary suites you can do.
Yeah, secondary suites you can, but
yeah, I guess they're not maybe the most pro development I've heard.
Yeah, but that's something that I would like to get into a little bit more. I think is the infills.
So for you, what's the bread and butter been? Just like minor construction?
For us right now, we do like right now in our business. Yeah, it's more like we do a lot of flips and a lot of BRRRRs. That's our bread and butter. And to be honest, I love it. So the idea of going to infill is like, maybe if I get bored one day, I might do that. But to be honest, it's a lot of fun still. So.
Yeah. Okay, so are you doing any actual in-ground, like new construction on your properties, or it's all just renovations?
That's actually one thing I've never dealt with yet is like, we've fixed foundations from the inside, but never like dug out and poured yet.
Yeah. So, it's fun. It's fun to get into kind of doing all of it. I do like the new co, like putting up the additions. They go up so fast. Like renovations sometimes can go slow because you have to rejig and work with the existing structure.
Yeah.
So we were actually just talking about this one you had bought there on Cannon in
Ottawa,
right? Yeah. Which I had looked at, made a couple of offers on and didn't get. I thought it was too expensive, but from what I hear, it's gone really well. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that project?
Yeah. So we bought it. We got it for 1.15 with a partner of mine. Do you know Brian Karshi?
I met Brian at a Keller Williams event, which I'm not an agent, but I was at the event because Dylan invited me. Long story. Anyways, I met him there.
Yeah, he's my partner on it. So we bought it first, and the place was still tenanted. I think there was 2 vacant units, if I remember correctly. And so anyway, when we got the place, the next day we got a city order that said that there was major structural problems and we need to rectify
it. The day after we bought it?
So I was like, what the heck? And so I asked the bylaw officer, I was like who submitted this? He's like, well, we can't tell you who submitted it. That's against our policy. I was like, okay, well, what unit is the structural problems happening? He's like, unit 1. I was like, so unit 1? He's like, oh, crap. So anyway, we went. So
it was the unit 1 tenant.
So we went and I wasn't angry or anything. I was like, out of curiosity, like, why did you call the city? And she's like, oh, I didn't mean to call it on you guys. I meant to call it on the previous owners. Yeah. And so, unbeknownst to her, she actually, I think, did us the biggest favor because the city
you a reason to get everybody out.
Well, it wasn't our reason. The city plastered it onto the front door, and everybody who came into their own house was like, screw it, I'm getting the heck out of here. Yeah. So we didn't pay any money in
getting people out. Oh my God, that's amazing! Yeah. You almost want to call it on yourself.
Yeah,
anonymous tip.
Yeah. In fact, so there were 2 people that stayed for a longer. So the 8-unit building is literally a mirror image of itself if you look it down the middle. Yeah. And we call it like on the east side and then the west side. So the west side cleared out 100%, and on the east side we had the main floor tenant and the third floor tenant who stayed. Now the person on the third floor tenant, she hadn't paid rent, and she just left in end of November, and she hadn't paid rent since previous November.
And you weren't able to get her out? Like what happened?
We couldn't get her out, but she just ended up leaving out on her own.
how in 1 year you couldn't get her out?
When January hit, that's when we just got her. And
Yeah.
then the property manager had the order already in with the LTB, so we filed again, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, and then
so it's just
no
this
sheriff to
massive delay process. So we were caught in this, and it was like, well, that's what it is. And then the main floor guy, I guess, caught wind of it. He's like, I'm not going to pay either. So he stopped paying for the last 2 or 3 months of him living there. Mm-hmm. And the problem with the main floor guy was actually like critical path because we were completely restructuring the entire building.
Yeah, so this building, one of the reasons I was so skeptical, because I figured, how much money I could spend in fixing the structural issue, and then exactly what you faced is getting the tenants out. So in my assessment, I would have needed to vacate one whole side of the building to fix it. Yeah. I would have to gut each the walls that what I identified, it looked to me like it was an issue coming from roof water that had rotted out structural element all the way down to the basement.
Very good assessment.
4 floors, and I just looked at it, I'm like, yep, for sure, like it can't be anything else. The building doesn't sink like this. So on the top floor, as you know, like it was like a foot lower. Probably at the low point was a foot lower than the high point in the floor.
Not quite a foot.
Not a foot, maybe 8 inches.
Yeah,
it was dramatic.
Yeah,
like
it was. You could felt a little.
You could not notice it. You felt like a drunken sailor walking around there. So
you give it the old marble test, and the marble just like rips down the floor.
Yeah, that marble would fly through the wall by the time it got there. So I looked at it. I'm like, wait, this person just put all these tenants in. And now I got to fight to get them out. I'm going to be paying what I thought was too much at the time, which I mean, now Hamilton's trading over $200,000 a door. So, for 8 units at 1.15, which you got it for, was actually a pretty decent deal. Mm-hmm. The cost is the next thing we'll talk about. But I just didn't know what I could get into. I figured I could spend a couple $100,000 fixing that problem.
Yeah, and that's what we figured as well. So there was a couple of the rot issue was actually yes, it was causing the sagging, but it actually rotted out all the 2x4s along the bathrooms.
I figured they were all gone, and then when you would open up the wall, it would be literally just the lath and plaster holding up the wall.
It totally was. It's the craziest thing. You take it off, and the 2x4 is like hanging.
Yeah,
and
I figured that.
There's no middle portion to it. It was just like chewed apart.
Was it all like moldy
rot.
in there?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, and if you remember too, the floor plans of these units were the stupidest floor plans you could probably imagine.
Yeah, they weren't efficient.
You'd walk in and I'd say probably 20% of the entire unit, which was already a fairly small unit, was made up of a hallway.
Yeah.
Like a very unattractive hallway.
Yeah, like a weird angle, 45-degree angle wall.
Yeah, so we actually...
You opened it up?
We got like a 22-foot beam and put it right at steel beams.
On each unit?
On each floor.
You just send them right through front to
back?
back?
So we got totally... as you walk into a full open concept kitchen kind of area.
So you had your engineer all that. Did you have to pour new pads in the basement?
Yeah. So there's no basement. Just slab on... Or as a crawl space.
Were you able to reinforce... So those beams would have been carrying down onto your foundation. Were they content with that, or did you have to dig up the footing and prove it was big enough?
No, we got engineered design for how deep we had to go. So yeah.
Okay, so you did have to pour under the pad and underpin that specific
it's
section?
All dirt. It's literally.
Okay, so you just created a new pad.
We just created a new pad. It was I think 36 by 36 by 12 inches with rebar.
So somewhere in the center.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did the pad in the center, and then the other ones on the wall were fine, like the ones that rested on the foundation. And then you got 4 floors that's carrying down, right? All the way to the basement. So yeah, this is
big steel columns that we actually welded them to.
Yeah,
so.
Perfect. Yeah. That's awesome. So you opened it back up. You had to jack it up though, right? Did you?
Oh yeah.
Did you use a hydraulic jack to?
Oh yeah, big time. So in fact, we're just getting to the part where, because now the east side of the building is being done with the structural stuff.
Yeah.
The west side looks good now.
Yeah.
It's actually wow, like I can stand here, and you can still you can still feel that it's not 100%. I don't know if it'll ever get to 100%.
At least if it's close.
But it's very, very close. You know what the craziest part was actually the back boiler room.
Yeah, the back boiler room was underground behind the building.
Yeah.
Which was super weird to me.
No basement, but it's underground behind the building, and there's this shack that you have to kind of go down these sketchy set of stairs to get down. So that slab... Whoever owned this building, I don't know what the heck they were thinking, but their solution to everything that was sagging was to either add self-leveling concrete and then more flooring. So if you look at any of the floors in any of the units, it looks like the age of a tree. You know how you can measure it
by layers,
by
layers of self-leveler.
But it's like the laminate hardwood, underneath it's like an underpad, then tile, then the self-leveling concrete, then wood floor again, then tile. It's like like one of the floors that we took up was like 1.5 inches of just flooring. So they did the exact same thing in the back with the boiler room, because the boiler room had this concrete top. And it was sagging. So you'd go underneath and like this thing, we had to actually condemn it because we were afraid that this thing could collapse any second. So we actually hired a company to come in and chip up all that concrete. And they did the exact same thing with the concrete slab. It was like the first layer of concrete was way too thin with nowhere near enough structural steel. And then on top of it was like a layer of asphalt. And then some actual like soil, like dirt. And then on top of that, concrete again. And it was like, you'd wonder why the whole thing's sagging, because they're just adding all this weight to it.
So you re-poured that?
Yeah, we had to chip that all up and we re-braced it.
This is like a real world case study for me, because you know what? Like it seems like we assessed the same risks. I think that you were a little more bullish on probably the value at the end.
I think that the right word is maybe a little bit more ignorant. Because you were probably like, screw this, I'm not getting it. I was like, what the heck?
Do you think the market saved you, or the values were just where they were?
No, I think we would have done well regardless.
Yeah, you would have done well. I think you were in the right ballpark.
Because we bought this before this market happened, so we were totally content with what it was going to be at the time.
And I'm, for me, Hamilton's a new market for me. Like all my stuff's in London, so I was being super conservative. Well, I think had I had it to look at again now, just knowing where I've seen kind of price per unit go across Ontario, I wouldn't have hesitated. But because truthfully, I find the idea of fixing that problem fascinating and would have been fun, but the human element of it, getting non-payers out, and I saw, some of the tenants there were maybe not my first choice in terms of.
Supposedly this house or this apartment was kind of like the crack den haven. Like people go there to grab narcotics all the time.
I get some drugs. I was actually afraid there in the crawl space that might find some bodies buried. I wasn't quite sure. I'm like, how do I get in here? I don't feel comfortable with this. You didn't, right?
No. Okay. Luckily we didn't.
The Hells Angels didn't put anything under there.
Not that I know of. But
it's a really nice building though. You got like nice red brick building. I think that could turn into something. Like I had this vision of like kind of like a New York style, like you could do some really nice accents on the outside of it and really dress it up to be a high-end apartment.
So I don't know if you noticed on the outside, instead of repointing the brick where they needed to, they used caulking.
I didn't, but
and it's like my pet peeve. That and whoever, like I guess is Bell Canada, who came and like spread their cables all over the place.
It's just like a mess.
It just completely ruins the entire facade. So we're running all the new cables on the inside.
So with the Bell cables and stuff, sometimes I just rip those out of places. Actually just cut them up, rip them off. Hate what they do. But actually, now that you mentioned that, I do remember the caulking in the bricks. People do funny things, man. But when that neighborhood changes, now you want to come in and actually make it look good, which is actually really good for Hamilton.
We also have parking, which is, I think,
huge parking.
Huge.
See, that was one of the things I really liked about that. I figured there was a lot of ways you could turn that into a really functional parking lot. So what did you buy? You 115?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you figure you're going to be all in for?
I'm thinking once we're done, we're going to be about 350, 400. Let's put 400.
Okay, including carrying costs?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so you're 1.55, and what do you figure the value is on this now?
I don't think it's much. After it's done?
Assume incomplete.
I'm thinking it's about 1.6 is what I'm thinking.
Really? You're being too conservative.
Think so?
You're only going to give yourself 200 a unit after you're done?
Well, if you think you can do better, it's just gravy.
I would assume so. I mean, people are buying garbage for 200 a unit now.
Yeah, we just knew a guy who did an appraisal on a 6 unit. Actually, one of Dylan's clients. And I think he only got for his appraisal on the 6plex, it only came in at 980 or something, which to me was very surprising.
That's one appraiser. I mean,
totally. And so once again, I always lean on the conservative for the money side, and I'm always pleasantly surprised, which I kind of like.
Yeah,
You know, it's
I
like,
kind of got that from what you said on the last one we did a little
yeah,
case
it's
study
like,
on.
oh, this is pleasant, you know,
Yeah.
versus like, shit, how am I going to explain this to my joint venture partner?
Okay, so let's just say you're right at 1.6, which is kind of where I mean, I had visions of maybe higher, but so to me, I want the perfect BRRRR, and I didn't see it happening on this one. I think now with what the market's done, it did what I kind of thought it would do, but didn't know for sure, and that's go up. So I think that you're going to do better than that. But all the same, let's just crunch the numbers, assuming you got 350,000 left in.
Yep.
And this is your JV partner's money. Okay, so what do you figure you're going to get per unit there on average?
I'm thinking probably about 1550. We turn them on to 2 bedrooms.
Okay, on the 2 bedrooms? How many are there 2 bedrooms?
8.
Oh, they're all 8. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so 12,400 across the building. Were you like 12,000 on taxes there or something like that?
14,000, I think.
14,000. And insurance, I feel like you're going to be like 30,000.
I should have came with like Coles notes.
I just do ballpark. I just like an idea, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so maintenance will leave that at 7%. Utilities there, you're going to be into quite a bit because you're paying all the water.
All the water, and the gas is just boiler, so it's actually not bad.
Gas is boiler. So gas is probably what, 200 a month there?
Yeah, we'll give it something like that. And
then for water, it's 8 people. Well, let's call it 16 people maybe using. So maybe like
$300
a month. Yeah. All right.
And
so
hydro's all on their own. They pay their own.
no common meter.
Yes, there is a common meter. So
we'll call it 75 a month times 12 there. Okay, so it might be in the ballpark of 7,000 a year in utilities.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Management will leave your 8% in there. Lawn cutting, you won't have it, but you will have some snow removal. We'll call that maybe, what, $600 for the year?
Sure.
And I'll just leave miscellaneous in there again. Throw this valuation in. Okay, so at a 1.6 million, you're a 6.16% cap rate, which is why I know you're wrong about that value. Because I don't think anyone's buying 6 caps in Hamilton. But anyways, I like your conservative approach. I am super, super conservative with my numbers. So
it's always better to do that and then come
be
out
surprised.
Yeah,
I agree. That's what keeps you in the business.
You know what else I do? Do you have a separate tax account where you put money aside when you do like a flip? Like you take,
for taxes?
Yeah, you put it aside.
Yeah, it's called My Properties. I don't touch the money out of my properties except when I have to pay taxes. Pretty much. That's the only way I take money out of my properties accounts.
So what I do is I take when I get a flip, let's say I make, I don't know, 100 grand on a flip or something, 25K I'll put into a tax account. I'll let it sit there, and I can use that to invest in something else or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the year, I never end up paying nearly that much in tax, and it's like this sweet bonus every year. Yeah. Honestly, like you kind of forget about it, and you accept the fact that you're gonna. And then you get it back. Yeah.
I love creating those systems, so you don't have to. It's like I create systems for how much cash I keep, so I can sleep at night. Keep a system so that you're not pulling out of your pocket to pay taxes, because it's a really dirty feeling.
Have you ever? There's a book out there called Profit First.
Profit First?
It literally changed our business structure this year. You should definitely check it out.
Profit First. Okay, I'll look it up.
It talks a little bit about how to break up your like if you think of your business as 100%, you should learn how to operate a business on like 40%, then taxes are 25%, and then you split up owner's profit and then the company profit. Because at the end of the year, when you do your taxes, you're like, the taxes show I made all this money, but like, where the hell is it, you know? Yeah. Because we redeploy it into other properties and all this stuff too. So
I gotcha.
Be cognizant of it.
Cool. I'll have to check out that book. Yeah. Okay, so just looking at these numbers here. So, if we figure you have a 3% appreciation rate, you're probably going to go up by 48 grand a year. And your mortgage pay down, because you're going to be at a 25-year AM, I figured I should actually adjust this. So we'll call it 2.5% interest rate. So you're like a $3,400 cash flow. Annually, the cash flow is about 41 grand. That's not bad. Pay down of like 30 grand. So, this property is really generating about 118,000 a year between all that. And then the return, you're in for about, call it 350, you said. So if you're in that ballpark, you're about 33% return on investment. So, and you're splitting that with your partner? Yeah. So they get their whatever money you pull out of the refi back. And then how do you work that from there? So then it's 50-50 or
50. Everything's 50-50.
Do you have a schedule to refinance again in X number of years to get them the rest of their money? Or is that not really?
I think it's more about the fact that we, like, once again, I'm really gunning towards, and I know my partner's in it too, we want to get towards the the CMHC if we can.
Okay.
So if we can do that, then I'd be
Yeah.
actually okay to lock in for 10 years, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
if I don't have to refinance, it's not a huge deal,
Mm-hmm.
but the cash flow is super sexy.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to CMHC, you probably end up getting 80%. Like they say 85, but it's not a true 85 because they trim you down.
Yeah.
So if you were, and then you got maybe 2% even on the rate, you could keep your cash flow roughly the same, but you'd be pulling out a big chunk more.
Yeah.
And have even less invested. So
'Cause for both of us, where we're at right now is that, we've got young kids and we're kind of still in the thick of it. The way I kind of see business now is like my foot's on the pedal. So until I decide to take it off and just kind of live casually, just let it coast.
Hey, that's nice, man. Like you said, you're active, so I mean, you don't need to be pulling that money out. And that's a great asset to have because I only see that one going up. Yeah. And I like that it's 8 units in one spot. They can generate a pretty good rental income each.
For sure.
What is your tenant base starting to look like now? You getting some people working?
We haven't gotten there yet. Yeah.
What do you figure you're gonna get?
Well, we're gonna put a lot into like the design. So I'm hoping to get like young professionals in there. Ideally, we're gonna get newly pave the parking lot,
That'll
get it all cleaned
difference.
up. Yeah, get the outside. You're saying that whole New York feel. We're gonna do something very similar to that too. We're actually thinking of like putting planters and stuff like that outside. Like
I think you should do those black pancake style lights that hang with like the vintage bulbs in them. Hang a couple of those off the front. I just think that would look really cool there. And if you can get one of those black dome type like awnings, I don't know exactly what.
Yes, yeah. That's exactly what we were thinking.
Yeah, just like dress it up, just like look up like chic New York.
It was that, or we had another idea to actually get like so when we bought it, we're like, what should we call the corporation that we bought it under? And so we decided there was a sign on it called the Cannon Manor.
Yeah.
And so we named our corporation Cannon Manor.
That's nice, man. You should definitely push the name of the building. Give it its own website. I kind of was thinking all this, like give it its website.
You live in the Cannon Manor? Oh, that's like the bougiest place in town. I'm like, yeah, totally.
Exactly. You want to get some hipsters living in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can drive those rents up to 1,700 maybe.
Yeah, get an espresso machine in every unit.
There you go. I feel like there's always something like creative, and I learned this from Carmen, my mother-in-law, like all these little tricks that she does where she'll get more rent than anybody else, like consistently on everything she does, and she always creates a big vision around what she does.
Yeah.
And nice website, nice marketing, and nice accents, and that seems to do the trick. It draws in people that are like, oh, that's so cute and whatever.
What would you recommend to do on the stairs? That's one thing, because the stairs were carpet and they stink like
I'm trying to picture it.
The
Definitely not carpet.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about what we could do, because obviously you want to make sure that people aren't going to slip all the way down or anything like that either, right?
In any of my places, I usually use vinyl plank and glue it down on the stairs. I like the click plank. Mm-hmm. I like that on the stairs with those little metal nosings.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much traction that gives you. I mean, I'd have to see them again because I don't really remember. You're not going to rip out the stairs
at some point.
Yeah, man. I'd love to check it out. I wish I could have been there when you opened up those walls to feel validated. I was right.
Yeah. But another thing we're thinking is how, on every set of stairs you go up and there's like this bit of a landing and you have to kind of turn around to get. So every single one of those landings, I'd like to make like a feature wall there. Yeah. On every single landing.
That'd be so cool.
A little bit different, like
little paintings and stuff.
Colors like bright red or bright yellow or bright green or something.
I feel like the difference in these multis, there's so many multis out there that the landlords don't care what the common areas look like. It's just like a dungeon. Like it feels like your elementary school that no one ever cared about. Like I see that so often. Like there's such an opportunity to just to take a little time and just make the hallways like 100%. Nice. Put a little thing of flowers, even if they're fake. Yeah. And like, I don't know, I would let my wife help me with all that, but I think that there's like such an opportunity in that building specifically to give it its own charm, make it a destination spot where people actually are on a waiting list to get in, and then you can write your own income pretty much. Yeah, kind of jealous I didn't do that, man.
Well, you're invited over for a coffee anytime with our new Nespresso machines.
Pop in and take a peek. That'd be great. So, what else are you into? Like, what's your portfolio look like, bird's eye view?
So we've got 53 units right now. Okay. About 20 of them are still under construction.
Okay.
So we may own the unit, but they're not occupied or making money just yet.
Yeah.
So by spring, all those will be done, and we have now a backlog already of properties coming down the pipe.
So you got a lot of stuff on the agenda.
Yeah. So the goal for next year is actually to buy 30 properties between flipping, BRRRRing, and the odd wholesale here and there.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are having a child tomorrow, literally.
Yeah. It's on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now I have a ton of confidence in our team. We've got some key individuals that we've just brought on, especially on the construction side. So I've got a lot of faith as to how we can start to grow. And my team is very motivated. It probably sounds bad, but to get me out of the nitty gritty so that I can focus on the higher level, like property acquisitions, and just bring more opportunities to the team.
Yeah, like what should we do now? That kind of concept.
So the way I see it, like, so in our team, we're very much focused on everyone else's self-development as well. So people that join us, we encourage them to, okay, when are you buying your first property?
Yeah.
And that's a conversation we consistently have. So Melissa, who joined us, I think a year and a half ago, maybe now, within that year, she bought her first investment property, and she just got a firm deal on her second one.
Nice.
So like, and I look at what that's going to do for like her family. She's got 2 young daughters. Like, it's just blows my mind as like her financial situation is now completely changed. And the thing's a cash cow. It's crazy. So it's like making like $800 a month. Now she self-manages it. She's got a partner in it and all that stuff. Just one of her girlfriends went on with her. But then our project coordinator, he's also an investor as well. So we actually knew him through the investor community. His name's Matey. He's a fantastic individual.
Okay.
And so we brought him on board as well. And he's just been so impactful. He's a very high-minded individual. So I really appreciate that, because it's nice to kind of level with somebody who, like, you get the mindset and the growth and that whole side of things. You know, it's not just about I come to do a job.
Yeah, mindset's so important.
So important. Yeah. So, I mean, for me right now, the most important thing is being able to focus and finding the who, not the how, I guess.
Yeah.
So bringing on more talent is a big push this year for me.
Okay, so how are you bringing on talent? Like, what do you?
Not very well, I'll tell you right now.
It's my single biggest struggle.
Totally.
Like, I have some good people around me. The biggest has been the ones that are closest to me, like an admin. Like, that's been my biggest challenge. I do have people on my construction sites. I've got people for video editing and all the podcasts. But it's the relinquishing that tight control I have on like my books and my high level business.
Yeah. So with Melissa, we've kind of opened the books to her. She's our administrator. I'd say we got lucky. She was our second admin hire. The first admin hire, she
last?
No. I remember like we were so busy, Kaylee and I, like running around all over the place, and then we'd leave her in the office to do like this whatever administrative tasks she had on the go, and she'd call us at like 1:00 in the afternoon and be like, "Hey, I don't really know what else I should be doing," when we like left a whole list and was like, okay, well, I guess you can just go home if you'd like. She's like, okay. So I was like, okay, well, it's probably not going to work. So Melissa, she's very focused on creating systems. She's actually taking on the project management side of things. So she's actually helped structure the business for us. And
so what were the criteria when you were hiring Melissa? Like, how did you know you had found somebody? Like, what was your process in finding her?
Well, it's a good question. It was a year and a half ago. I'm just trying to think back now. We found her actually on Indeed.
Yeah, so you just put out an ad.
Yeah, we put it on an ad, and we interviewed a bunch of folks. But yeah, she had the right attitude.
Yeah.
At the time, actually, I remember it was like she was a little bit more expensive than what I guess we had in mind, because an administrator, you're not really sure like how. You
don't know how good they'll be.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
They could be worth it, and they might not be.
Yeah, but she really proved herself to us, so we make sure that we prove her worth to us too.
Yeah.
Right?
And you said she's the one that bought the rental property.
Yeah.
So do you look for that like in somebody? Like, you want to see somebody who wants to get into the business. They understand, they're enthusiastic about the business. Yeah,
it's I don't want them to my goal is not for them to take on being a real estate investor. And I, for instance, Matey, he actually, his goal, and he's been very straight up with us, is like, I don't want to be here forever. I just want to, help contribute, raise your company to the next level and help build the systems that it's going to require. And I think for right now, that's exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
Because I think that we were doing so much at once that we needed somebody to kind of pull things back so we could focus on the systems a little bit while still like going, the projects can't wait. So we still have to go forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's, for me, it's somebody who has a vision enough to be self-sufficient. As a self-starter is an important thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I skipped lunch today. But also someone who I can see potentially being like an empire builder, somebody who can build. Right?
Okay.
That's important. But it's hard. How do you know that?
How do you know? I mean, do you use like a disc profile? Like I'm
obsessed with disc.
Those are super new to me. So what are you looking for? Like explain it and explain what you're looking for.
So for a disc profile, like I think that someone you're looking for is like a high D second C for an administrator, in my opinion.
Okay.
Somebody that like a high D is like a pusher is not going to wait for your direction on what decision they should make because they kind of know. Yeah. But a C also has a little bit of an analytical mind in terms of like.
What does C stand for?
Conscientiousness.
Conscientious. Okay.
Yeah, the C is like the analysis paralysis. They're like the people who are like in the. Okay. In the cubicles and they like the engineers are C's.
Yeah.
And your I's are the very like, squirrel. I'm a high I second D.
Okay.
Right. And so I think that works well in sales. Personally, but a high S is very like team oriented, and then a high D is like the pusher. You want a high D to like push projects along.
D is dominance, right?
Yeah.
And then I stands for
influence.
Influence. Okay. So I've heard other people say they want different priorities than that, but I guess it's also complimenting you and what you do, right? Yeah. So there's no right or wrong answer.
I'm a super high I, so like I get distracted all the time. It's kind of like a running joke in the office of like I have an attention span like a cabbage or a goldfish. It's probably better. Cabbage has a pretty long attention span. But for me, I sometimes need, people to kind of keep me on the straight and narrow a little bit, right? Because there's a lot of stuff, and too, like when you're dealing with multiple projects, we're also like dealing with acquisitions, we're dealing with trades, we're dealing with issues with tenants, we're dealing with all these different things, the city, permits, architects, all this stuff. It's hard to keep on track. Like I get home at night some days and I'm like vibrating. I'm like, what the hell just happened today? It's just crazy. Yeah. So you sometimes you need somebody who you can lean on a little bit to be like, don't forget to do this, 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 and this. Or
sometimes it's really annoying if I'm like I have like all the like the management. I do manage my own stuff and I have a team, but I am often in the middle of a lot of direction. So that's the part where I would love to remove myself completely because the part I enjoy
in the middle of a lot of direction.
Like I get emails to me and then I assign tasks. Right, I'm the guy assigning. Like with my construction site. I'm not involved. Actually, if my site supervisor calls me, I give him the phone number of whoever he thinks he needs, or I tell him to find somebody. So we're getting actually better and better as time goes on, and he's becoming more and more valuable to me because every problem that comes up, he solves it.
That is like my dream.
It is a dream.
That's my dream right there.
It is an absolute dream. Like my project runs itself. I have not yet got a call today. Construction is happening without my involvement. That is beautiful. Now, some days I do get a few calls, but for the most part, I don't have to get involved. I get involved on more awarding contracts or seeking out new relationships on larger ticket items. Like if it's small ticket items, I let him do it. But for larger contracts, like who's our excavator, concrete contractor for these 3 houses? That's something I'd be involved on to make that decision. But
so how do you deal with it when you're trying to give the person this independence to make their own decisions and to problem solve? And what if you get to site and you're like, I wouldn't have done it this way. Like, why is this piece sticking out of this wall or something?
It's a real slow, that's a real slow process. So for Rod, he actually doesn't do the work. He more assigns and oversees. He's site supervisor. I have a few guys that are very autonomous, that work on site for me. They're not my employees, but they do work for me a lot. you know what, we'll do a little bit of pictures here and there. So, hey, this is what I'm thinking. But I really spend time getting to know the people that work for me and how they think.
Yeah.
And I know what not to give them. Like I know, okay, this is a task for this person. Like that person can handle that and can make decisions that I would be okay with. This person, don't give him a cocking gun. Like there's one guy that somehow he gets a cocking gun and I see the work. I'm like, somebody gave him a cocking gun, didn't they? So, it's just like funny little things like that. But the damage is usually pretty minor when those things happen.
Yeah.
They're not hard to fix in my experience. And I'm not going to say that there haven't been some big mistakes made, but we were able to roll with it. But I think this is just like some people have the ability to give up that internal control on the administrative side, and it would be harder to give up the construction side. For me, it was just the reverse. Like I never had a specific skill in construction, so it was easy for me to not be hands-on.
I'm that reverse. I love the construction side. I love being in the thick of it, problem solving.
Oh, I love that too.
Way. It's just
easier in the engineering side, right? I'm not an engineer, but I do like we need to carry this load down, open this up. What are we gonna do here? Like what we were talking about in that building. Like man, like that's like a board game to me. I wanna play.
yeah, totally. Now when you have a crew that you have a construction company, of course, do you have individuals that work on payroll, like framers and stuff like that?
I have 2 right now that are on my payroll. I've had as many as 4. One guy, a full-time carpenter. That guy actually now works for another company, but still is working for me. Like the last 2-3 months, he's been on my site for like a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So I'll take him any which way I can get. Like, it works better for him right now.
Because we're considering bringing on 2 full-time like framers.
I think like a good carpenter, like this guy I'm talking about, like he's the guy you don't want to give a cocking gun to, but he could frame absolutely anything. And he's been invaluable to me. I've earned so much money, built so much wealth because of him. He's worked with me for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to go at it without him. Like he's the guy I'll bring in because he's one guy, but I'll bring in framing crews and I'll have him inspect. I'm like, okay, now you go in there and you tell me if they did a good job. You tell me what they did wrong so I can make them fix it. Or if I paid a low enough price for the framing, I'll just eat it. If I get a good enough deal on the framing, I'll just fix the problems. Mm-hmm. And that to me is worth it. I'll pay my guy to fix it.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with your own solution as to how you're going to make it work. But I know that I can build cheaper than the average person. So for me, like we talk about being creative, like what are the creative ways you can invest? I know that I have a competitive advantage. I can go into pretty much any situation and I can build it cheaper than somebody else could.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow me to create sweat equity and things. Mm-hmm. It's a capacity problem now. So I want to make sure I'm doing it on things that I can add enough value that I feel like it's worth my time. It's building my wealth in the direction and at the speed that I want it.
Yeah, for sure.
These are such fun. These are the type of conversations that like I love having, right? Yeah. Like this is like masterminding. Like totally. How are we going to grow? Like what are we going to do next? Like,
but the talent thing, like Keller Williams is a very much a culture around attracting talent. And so we got to experience a little bit of that, also be immersed in that culture too. But it's definitely the number one thing is to find the right, like you said, that one framer individual who can't use a cocking gun, but he has built your net worth tenfold. And I think that when you bring the right people in, it frees you up to do other things. Actually, I heard an amazing question to ask a millennial in an interview.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast today, Bigger Pockets actually. Okay. And they had a coach on there from the strategic coaching, and the guy said, if you ever are having a millennial, you should ask them in an interview with like a poker face, what do you feel like you're entitled to in this job? And if they start listing off all the things that they feel that they should get, be like, okay, well, thanks so much. And then never call them
The answer
again.
should be nothing.
Yeah. And if the answer is, I don't really have any expectations. I just want to learn and contribute and see how, I can grow within the company. Then that's kind of the answer that you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm baffled at how few people really, truly want to work.
Yeah. That's a cultural problem.
Yeah,
for sure. I think that goes real deep. Like that's a rabbit hole we can go down. I am too. Like I mean,
we need some scotch for that one.
The crap I've seen on sites trying to get, not to throw any specific temporary labor companies under the bus here, but I'm sure you can relate. Yeah. I've brought out temp labor. I'm paying like 22, 23, $24 an hour for it, and these are people that can barely push a broom.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just blown away that I'm having to pay this. And this is a problem because that hurts absolutely everybody. If I can't get a good value for my $24, that hurts everybody, because that means that now McDonald's has to pay more and the grocery store has to pay more to get people that are capable, which drives all of our prices and hurts all Canadians equally. And we've got to get out of this socialist, like everybody is equal.
Could not agree with you more.
Oh man, it's the destruction. It's trickle up poverty is what it is. As for I heard it from the CEO of Whole Foods, and I keep saying this: trickle up poverty is the most accurate description of it, and we've got to stop it. Yeah. So I mean, I would love to see. I know it's kind of out of the box, but I actually think there's a huge argument to not have a minimum wage, because think about. I heard Peter Schiff talk about this. Do you know Peter Schiff?
No.
He talks a lot about economics, currency, and he's like, I'm old enough to know what it was like to work for like tips. I used to, pump gas for tips. And, when I wasn't doing that, I could go in and I could sit and I could watch the mechanics working in the garage. And then I learned a skill. I learned about working on cars by sitting and watching them in between. If minimum wage had been there, they wouldn't have full serve gas stations. And look at full serve gas stations. Where'd they go? They're gone, because minimum wage made it too expensive to have people that could come pump gas. So it actually kind of hurt us, and it actually hurt the people that would have had those jobs, because at the end of the day, market pays what you're worth.
Yep.
And if you're only worth $6 of value and the employer can make $8 of value off of you as an employee, you got yourself a deal. But if the market says you're worth, $6, but the government says you're worth 14, now all of a sudden you have a non-deal, and now you, who would have a job and would have an opportunity to build skills, learn, grow, and become a better person, better human being, a more contributing human being to society, now are robbed of that experience. Instead, you go to school and get paid nothing. In fact, you'll pay. What sense does that make? You get to learn on a job.
For sure.
So to me, it's funny, and I know some people would argue with me on that. Maybe not my listeners, because they know I'm a conservative, but
I could. You're literally preaching to the choir. I couldn't agree with you anymore. It's. There was a funny video. I think it was like a Ben Shapiro video. I don't know if you've ever
I like
seen
Ben
it.
Shapiro. I do. Him and Dan Bongino. These are guys like I love listening to.
So he had an interesting conversation with a guy who was preaching the socialism card about the pencil factory.
Oh, I heard that one. That was so good.
So it's like, you don't need a functioning cerebral cortex to put graphite into a pencil.
Yeah.
But the business owner who's putting in the time, taking the risk, finding the investors, buying the machinery, qualifying the talent, all that's organizing the systems within this entire company.
Yeah.
I mean, and now here you have somebody who's putting graphite into a pencil saying, I would like to be recognized to my contributions in this.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that there's a lineup out the door. Now, I think the problem is that we're actually finding that there maybe isn't a lineup out the door.
For people wanting to work.
Yeah.
Well, when you get served, you don't need to line up for work. Yeah. The problem is, if you take away the handouts and you remove the minimum wage, now everybody's on equal footing. Everybody needs to earn. And the cream always rises to the top. Those who are better have the ability to quit the job if they don't feel like they're getting paid what they're worth, and start their own thing, or go find a better employer. And this happens all the time. This is not a new concept. People switch jobs all the time because they feel like there's a better opportunity. Now,
I know that this could very well be a quite a controversial kind of topic about social assistance. This is so we have dealt with situations where we've dealt with like ODSP tenants or things like that. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of people out there that need this help and that they should get it.
Yeah.
I do feel that in order to get this help, because there's way too many people who don't need it and who are taking advantage of it, and I've seen it firsthand, and it makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, we had a tenant who it was purely a favor. She was the aunt of another tenant who we had there. Terrible credit, went against everything in my gut to rent to this person, but he's like, listen, he was a good tenant. Yeah. Brought her in. She contacted ODSP to get her rent sent directly to me. I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah. No problem. This is kind of a layover place for you. Anyway, first month in, she stopped her ODSP payments because they have that control.
She redirected it to herself?
Yeah, she redirected it to herself, and she bought like a 2.6er vodka every third day.
Oh, man.
And so this is, our taxpayers' money going towards this. I think that there should be some way that people who are on, and I get it. Once again, it's people who are in a disability type situation or social assistance of some sort. There's obviously a need to help them, and I'm all for it. But it has to be somehow reciprocated. I think people should
some accountability to it.
Yeah, exactly. Should somehow give back to the community somehow. Maybe these people should talk to, like, create within the groups amongst themselves to maybe get better. Like, they can give back to the community in that way by coming together. I don't know what it is, but
and this is something I've mulled over a lot.
It doesn't have to be like this negative, like, how dare you or whatever, because I always fear that, like, talking like this. But like, I think that at the end of the day, like, when you perpetuate the free handout, and like another thing is baby bonuses is freaking crazy.
Oh yeah. No, it's. I actually know a guy. He's like a multi-millionaire, but he doesn't take the income personally, so he gets all these government handouts, all these benefits, and it's just really funny. I really don't. I don't think that's the route we should be going. And can you imagine a society like if we had such a lower level of taxation, like if we cut government down, thinking out loud, like to 20% of what it is right now. Imagine the extra money people would have if we got rid of all this central bank manipulation of our currency. People didn't get their dollars inflated away and paid a reasonable amount of tax. People, if they respected the family unit, we wouldn't have these issues of people needing social assistance. Their family would take care of them. Mm-hmm. But there's just so many things that I've seen have happened over time that, and there's always an exception to every rule. And I think the exceptions do need to be addressed, and there's a responsible way. I'm not saying I have all the answers. This is me thinking out loud. So don't get mad at me, anyone. I'm sharing ideas. Free country still. I think sort of.
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
maybe
unless
sometimes.
You're on social media.
And as long as you don't own a non-essential store, you're free. Anyways, but I think there's a lot of good ideas. I love having these conversations. I think that our listeners and viewers are probably going to get something out of that. I'm sure many agree, and some maybe disagree, and that's cool too. But I appreciate you sharing that and kind of jousting with me here. I think we had a lot of cool chats here.
For sure.
Where do people reach you if they want to find out more?
Well, actually, we have a website, www.palpropertysolutions.com.
Okay.
And there's actually a free book on there too, if anybody wants. It's called Getting Your Foot in the Door. So if people are interested to, it literally costs you nothing. So just download it. It's a PDF.
All right. You wrote the book?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I'm a terrible writer, but it's like grade 3 level. So I think a lot of people have, the feedback's like, man, this is so easy to understand, which I'm like, that's great, actually.
Simple is the way it's got to be, man. I like that.
And you can probably read it in like an hour and a half.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a quick way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So people can check you out on your website, and I think you have an Instagram that I have you on.
Property Solutions. You can follow them on Instagram or Facebook.
Cool. Yeah. I'll include those in the show notes. Any parting words of wisdom here for investors that want to take it up a level like you're doing?
A couple things. I think your network is your net worth. Okay. And that's why I'm grateful to finally met you too. Like, I think that if we followed each other and we've seen what the other persons have done, but once you start to collaborate and you're like, holy shit, I got a lot in common with this guy. We should go grab a beer at some point.
Yeah, man.
A lot of the people that we network with and have gotten to know across the years, now we like go out for dinner together and stuff like that. And we really like, that's where you share like really deep ideas.
Yeah, man. I'm into that. And then do you golf?
Not well, but I love it.
Yeah, let's do that in the spring. I'm definitely interested. And yeah, man, like grab a bite, grab a beer or something. We'll find a place we should do that because lots of good ideas here.
For sure. That would be my parting words is that, a lot of people withhold themselves from actually making the decision, making the leap to get into investing. There's all these fear factors that are out there. But when you surround yourself with the right people, it's like that, if you sleep with dogs, you get fleas, but birds with a feather flock together kind of thing, right? And so when you surround yourself with the right birds, I think you don't have a choice. You just eventually screw it. I'll fly with these guys.
That's awesome, man. It was great wisdom. Again, really appreciate it, Alex.
Thanks so much for having me, dude.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. I'll see you on the next one.